And at the end, just give me 24 hours, I will share the recording link with you. If you have registered with your email, you're going to get it by email. People from Mauritius clubs and clubs from the online community where I'm affiliated, you're going to get those links as well. If you have any questions, let me know or send me an email later on. All right, so I'm going to just start a poll. And before I do that, I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I'd love to hear, and I'm going to just ask you to also do another thing. Please mute yourself as we go along, and unmute yourself if you have any question at any time. There will be time at the end of the session for an extended Q&A, but if you have any question, you can either unmute yourself or share the question. Alternatively, you can post it in the chat at the bottom of your screen. Now, I want to hear 3 things from you. Some of your fellow participants have already started to share that. Share those 3 things. Number 1, your name. Number 2, the club you're affiliated with. And number 3, what is your one expectation, one goal, one objective from this session? One thing that you'd like to take away and start applying straight away today itself. I'm just going to go and invite everyone along the chat list that I have. So I'm going to ask Aditya, can you just unmute yourself? Come on screen, we'd like to see you, and just share with us why you're here.
Hello everyone, my name is Aditya and I'm from Mauritius. In fact, I've recently joined the Toastmasters and I will be officially a member in April 2020. So in fact, I was really, since I'm new to the club, I'm really curious to know what it is to be an evaluator. And also my goal, the reason why I joined Toastmasters, in fact, is to really improve my public speaking abilities. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Next person I'm going to invite is Dilshad. Please unmute yourself. Tell us your name, your club, at least the one club you're affiliated to. If there's more, you're more than welcome to share that. And what are your expectations from today's session?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And she's having some issue with her Zoom audio. So what I'm going to stop doing this by audio and video. I'm going to ask you to just post in the chat because I can see the chat and I'm going to share it with you. Just post in the chat. I can see your name. I can see where you're from. Just post in the chat. What are you expecting from this session? Is it you want to become the best evaluator on planet Earth? Is it you want to improve the lives of others? Is it you want to just improve on your listening skills and not get kicked out of home as a husband? I don't know. Write it down. And here we are. I'm going to give you a few seconds. And as the answers are coming in, I'm going to do one thing as well. I'm going to share a poll. If I can just get to it. There we are. And you're going to see the poll. And the poll is, do you understand how effective evaluations, I'm not talking about only evaluations, I'm talking about effective evaluations, how do they apply to your life outside of Toastmasters? Do you understand? If it's a yes, it's a no, it's not sure, it doesn't matter. Be honest, just go for it. Do you understand how effective evaluations apply to your life outside of Toastmasters? So you have to do 2 things. Your expectations in the chat, you can share it with everyone or only to me, and the poll. And at the moment, not sure is leading the way. So I'm going to mute myself for a few seconds while I look at the chat. If you have any question, you're more than welcome to just unmute yourself and raise your question. out of 20 participants, I have 10 who have participated in the poll. I'm going to leave it up for the next 1 minute or so. And as I look at the chat, here's what I find. I want to know how to evaluate. I want to deliver an effective evaluation. I want to practice effective listening. I want to improve on my evaluation skills because they're all rusted. I want to give proper evaluations to my fellow Toastmaster and apply to my professional life. I want to deliver powerful evaluation confidently, not only in Toastmasters, but outside. All right, that's good, that's good. It's awesome. And guess what's happening? A lot of us have the same goals. Well, not a lot. All of us have the same objective. We want to be able to deliver an effective evaluation. I want to leverage my evaluation techniques and further enthuse my analytical skills so that I can evaluate someone in a three-dimensional way. Oh my God, I'm going to go nuts at some point. But you need to have the bar high. That's very well said. The bar should be high so that you can work your way. And when you reach there, you see, oh, there's another mountain beyond that and more mountains to climb. So that's very well done. All right. I'm going to stop the poll. I'm going to end the polling. So to the question, do you understand how effective evaluations apply to your life outside Toastmasters? The leading answer is not sure. And just after that, I have a yes. No one has answered a no, or it doesn't matter. So if you have answered yes to that question in the poll, please unmute yourself, come forward and say why. We'd like to hear from you. Just unmute yourself and say, how does it help you outside of Toastmasters being an effective evaluator?
Hi, Krish.
Okay.
Hello. Ladies first.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Krishn.
for me,
Yes.
evaluation is actually a part of everyday thing that we do in terms of decision making or any comments that you're about to give, whether in our personal life or at work. So being able to actually give a proper evaluation will depend on how we actually judge and give our opinion properly. So for me, kind of yes, but I'm looking forward to master evaluation even better after the session. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for sharing. Sharif, you were going to share. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, Krishn. Can I?
Please go
So,
ahead,
hi
sir.
everybody. For me, evaluation that I've been learning at Toastmasters has helped me both at home and at work. As a public officer, as an employee, and as a supervisor, we need to evaluate at work, and we need to appraise. What we have learned at Toastmasters, evaluate to motivate. This is one of the ways of the technique that I've been using to evaluate my subordinates. And believe me, it's very, very, very helpful at its ways.
Thank you, Sharif. There were 3 other people who voted yes. Would you like to just unmute yourself and share your perspective?
Yes, Krishn,
Yes,
Roshan
sir.
here. I will just give my perspective on that. In fact, I went through by elimination, and there was the only answer I could answer was yes. And I thought that I was going to be the only one to answer yes. So I'm surprised that a few people as well have answered yes, and I've listened to them, and then very good. I think evaluation has helped me outside of Toastmasters in many ways. At home, at my workplace, with my friends, in Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters. The discussion that we get, the level of discussions and the way we assess things, the way we look at things is very different to when I was not a Toastmaster, say 5-10 years back. The way my wife speaks to me, my children speak to me, and the way I react to those is very different now as compared to what I was 10 years back. So I think that evaluation has helped me in improving myself, in assessing things differently and giving different perspective to the same thing in different situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshan. So because of time, I'm not going to be able to take the answers of the other two persons who answered, but you're more than welcome. If you want, share your comments, share your why in the chat. Now, I'm going to launch a second poll here. And here it is. You're going to see the poll come up on your screen. So the question is the following. How comfortable are you with practicing and delivering an evaluation at a normal club session? I'm talking about in your comfort zone, in your family of Toastmasters, with friends and people who you trust and who trust you. How comfortable are you on a scale of 0 to 5 with preparing and delivering an evaluation? That means you're going to prepare and then you're going to deliver it at your normal club session from 0 to 5, 0 being not at all, 5 being I'm the king or the queen of the world. I'll give you 1 minute. And while you're voting, a couple of you are having trouble with your internet connection because I see some of you getting dropped off and then logging back in. Now, what's going to happen when I focus on the presentations? I'm not going to be able to focus on admitting people in. I'm going to invite Mathilde, would you like to be one co-host and help me with getting people in?
Yes, sure, I can do that.
Thank you, madam. That's going to be awesome. Let me make you co-host. There you are. And do you see that request of the person coming in?
No.
Ah, you're not able to. There's one person waiting to be admitted. Do you see that in your chat?
I'm sorry, I don't see that.
Okay, so I think I didn't enable that feature. And if I do enable it right now, I'm going to just kill the session. So that's okay, I'm going to take that over. But Mathilde, you're still co-hosts. You can help the participants if you want to do that, or just focus on the session. It's entirely up to you. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We have, I think most of you, if not all, have voted. And guess what? How comfortable are you to prepare and deliver an evaluation at a normal club session? Nine of you have replied on a scale of 0 to 5, 3. 2 or 1 of you, only 1 is on a 4. No one has gone for 5. No one has gone for 1, and 2 of you have gone for 0. I remember when I was asked that question, I had said 1 or 2. That was a couple of years ago. I'm going to ask the people who have put 0 to just come forward and just share why. Why are you not comfortable to prepare and deliver an evaluation at a normal club session? And I'm ending the poll right now. Please come forward.
Me?
Yes. Please go ahead.
The new one. Yeah, I really don't know. I think for me, I want to do it very good. Yeah, very perfect. That puts me already under pressure. And then I know when I have to listen to a presentation and at the same time I have to think, oh, how am I going to evaluate that person? It's multitasking. I don't know. So, and then I think there are so many things you have to consider. So I really need to know what are the things I should look for when someone presents. Maybe some key things, or do I look on on the presentation on the whole. So I have never done it before, but I hope after this I can soon have my first evaluation.
And so do I. I think you've come to the right session. One thing, if you're taking notes, you don't need to copy what you see on screen. I'm going to share the slides and the recording to the session with you. But guess what? It's only going to be for you only, not for anyone who hasn't attended. So if you want to take notes from your own perspective. But thank you for sharing, Rebecca. Where is the other person who rated himself or herself as 0? Please come forward.
Yeah, that's me.
No. Okay.
In fact, since I'm new to the club and I've not yet become accustomed to the procedures and how we deal in the club. So
I understand.
And yet, how do we really evaluate someone when bringing solid facts to the presentation that that person did? So I guess this workshop will enlighten me on how to do so. That's it.
I hope it does, Aditya. I hope it really does. Now, before I move on, one thing that's going to happen, again, as you see me delivering, at times you're going to see me just pause because I'm helping someone get back into the session. Some of you may be dropped. I'm going to help you get back in, right? Apologies for that ahead of time. So I'm going to start the screen share here. And again, if you have any question, 2 options, stop me at any moment, ask your question, or post it in the chat and I will look at it either in the middle of the session or at the end. Just give me a shout out if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
All right. So building blocks for mastering your evaluations. Why building blocks? Because 2 of you and you have the same situation. You're new at your individual clubs and you want to know how to start doing evaluations the right way. And here we are. So what I have planned for you today are the following little blocks. What an effective evaluation is about. What should be an evaluator's goals and mindset. The preparation part of things, how to prepare as an evaluator. How to look at the different criteria of a speech that you're evaluating. Because sometimes you're going to sit in a room, you're going to listen to an evaluator come and tell the speaker, oh, wow, amazing speech, but I'd like you to apply more vocal variety, and then move on. And then you wonder why he or she said that, and what does that mean, vocal variety? So we're going to break those items into simpler components and see how it's going to help us. The oral evaluation, that's another block. We need to deliver that evaluation, as well as provide a written evaluation as well. The thing is, compared to the oral evaluation, it's only 2 to 3 minutes. You have 2 to 3 minutes to squeeze whatever you can squeeze. But on the written evaluation, you're not limited by the blocks you have. You can have additional page or pages and write more feedback for the speaker if you choose to do so. How should an evaluator be and prepare himself or herself during a speech and after a speech? The judging criteria, and I know there's going to be a question at some point, what's the difference between judging and evaluation? We're going to look at that briefly, but it's good to also be aware that when we're preparing for evaluation, as well for any other segment in the Toastmasters educational program, whether it's prepared speech or table topics or humor or tall tale, it's always good to have a look at that segment's judging criteria, the ballot that judges use to assess your performance. And then we're going to look at what a speaker should have, how the speaker who's being evaluated should prepare himself or herself, because it's not only about the evaluator, it's also about the speaker. And we're going to try to have a quick demo session where one of you, we have already selected the victim. You're all going to see a speech that is available on YouTube. I'm going to share it on my screen. I'm also going to share the link of that video in the chat. If at some point your screen freezes or there's a lag between the video and the audio that's coming into your ears, you can just stop the session, mute yourself, and watch that YouTube video on YouTube, then come back to the session. After that video, one of you is going to be doing an evaluation on that video itself. And after that, everyone is going to brainstorm on how the evaluator could have done things differently. So what you're going through in this workshop, you're going to practice it at the end. Okay. So how do you understand how effective evaluations apply to your life outside Toastmasters? The thing is, from my perspective, we are speaking nearly all of the time when we are with people. Even if we're not speaking, our body language is speaking for us. And if we're on the receiving end, we're listening to conversations, we're listening to our team members at work, we're listening to our bosses, our team leaders, our managers, we're listening to our CEOs, we're listening to our spouses giving us feedback. And then we have to ask ourselves, is this the right kind of feedback? Is this the right way of doing things? How should I reply? Should I just keep quiet? Should I keep on listening? And effective evaluation is all about that and much more. The thing is, when we get into practicing evaluation in Toastmasters, we want to focus on the word effective. So what does effective mean? Now, there are three different descriptions of what an evaluation that is effective falls under. Number one, from the legacy educational program, an effective evaluation is a feedback that provides an honest reaction in a constructive manner to the speaker's efforts using the evaluation guides that are provided. So it's a 4-component answer. It's an honest reaction. It's from the heart. It's based on facts. It's shared in a constructive manner. It is to the person's efforts. Here's the thing, we evaluate the speech. We do not evaluate the speaker. So all the best if you get to evaluate someone you don't really like. And it happens, and it can happen. But usually that's a rarity, but it can happen. So remember, we don't evaluate the speaker, we evaluate the speech and how it has been delivered. And we have evaluation guides. In the old program, each manual had its own evaluation guide. In the new program, Pathways has a typical evaluation form with specific speech purposes and guidelines for the different speech projects. Now, be careful. An evaluator is not a judge, is not an authority on speaking or leadership. For example, if I'm going to evaluate Binesh, I am not there to say, Binesh, this was wrong. You should do this like that. You should stop doing what you're doing. That's judging someone, and we are not there as evaluator to do that. Be very aware of that. We're not judging, and we have no expertise on speaking or leadership, because just like everyone else in our club, we're also a Toastmaster who is learning from the educational program. Some of us may have been here for 1 year, some of us for 10 years, some for 20 years. That doesn't mean anything when it comes down to effective evaluation. It comes down to how you share your feedback with the person without judging, without coming across as an authority. An evaluation which is effective, is also our own reaction to the person speaking, to the person's speaking or leadership efforts. What does that mean? If you've heard the following, say I'm evaluating Mathilde. and I say, Mathilde, wow, what a great speech. The audience was amazed by by how you describe your speech. What gives me the right to speak on behalf of the audience? Did I go and do a poll, just like I did right now, and ask 200 people in the room or 50 people in the room, how do you like Mathilde's speech? I don't have time to do that. So it's always my perspective. Never speak from the audience perspective. It's my reaction. Be careful about that. An evaluation is also an opinion, nothing more. And it should have the following: the effect on you. For example, Ismail, what an amazing speech. I felt delighted when I heard you talk about the coronavirus. It's also about what the speaker did well. Remember, we want the speaker to not only get recommendations, we want the speaker to feel good, we want the speaker to come back. What did the speaker do well? It should also include the areas, and we'll come to that in a few slides forward. The areas where the speaker can improve. And here's the biggest challenge that all of us have, at least I still have that. Have specific recommendations for improvement. Remember the example of, oh wow, Krishn, amazing vocal variety. And then the evaluator goes on, and I'm like, okay, what was amazing about my vocal variety? Did I put you to sleep, or did I like make you stand up and dance? It has to be specific. Was it the pace, the poses, the power, the pitch, the tone? What was it? Now, another definition of effective evaluation that comes from Merriam-Webster, you can Google for that, is it's a view, a judgment, or an appraisal that is formed in the mind about a particular matter, or it's a belief, is stronger than impression and less strong than positive knowledge. It's a convoluted way to say that it's a personal view that we form about something specific. And from Pathways, the new educational program from Toastmasters International, it's simply the following: what I heard, what I saw, what I felt. And the list of criteria based on what I heard, what I saw, what I felt, clearly and simply explained. And what I felt, it has to be very careful there. I need to be careful when I say, oh, especially if I'm evaluating someone of the other gender. Oh, I love your speech. I love everything about you. And someone can think, okay, Krishn is a predator. And I don't want that to happen. And I can be forced out of the club or voted out. There's the other extreme. Oh my God, I felt so depressed when I listened to your speech. It's not the kind of feedback someone wants to hear unless you're using it to pivot to something awesome coming afterwards. So you have to be careful when you share your feelings. But the usual words that are expected are I felt good, I felt satisfied, I felt happy, I felt elated, I felt comfortable, I felt soothed. So you want to play around with the descriptive words of feelings you can generate, or that are generated within your mind and heart when you're hearing the speech. Now, trick question: why do we need to be evaluated? We've covered that, but what does the evaluation need to have to be effective? What should an evaluation contain for it to be effective? What does that mean? What does effective mean? It's doing the right thing. It's not just doing the things right, it's doing the right thing. And here we're going to just start answering these questions. First thing first, our goals as evaluators is just simply to add value to the speaker. That's it. And as we're doing that, we empower the speaker. What does it mean to add value to the speaker? The speaker has come to deliver their speech and may want to build their confidence, especially if it's a new member. What we want to do is encourage that person to come back and do the speech or a second speech. That's the empowering part. The adding value is, here's a recommendation of how you can do better. Here's what you can do to tweak this aspect of your delivery. That's the adding value part. We also want to make the speaker come back and do better, persevere. And like I said earlier, just like I do not speak on behalf of the audience, as an evaluator, I am not speaking to the speaker only. And that's a big challenge a lot of us have. I am standing and speaking to the whole audience. I mean, think about it. Whether you're online looking at different screens, or you're on site and looking at people seated in front of you, when you're standing there, who's looking at you? Is it like only the speaker and everyone else has covered their eyes? It's not like that. Everyone is looking at you. So some people may interpret it as rude when you address only the speaker. Some people may judge you as, okay, you're not comfortable, or you'll just focus so much on the speaker that you've forgotten about me. So you want to be able to address the audience. That's why when we start, it's not dear speaker, it's ladies and gentlemen, and then we go into the evaluation. The mindset of the effective evaluator. Remember this, we become what we think about. That's from Earl Nightingale. So before you even get to know that you're an evaluator, if you don't want to be an evaluator, or you're in a club where the VP education just assigns you the role and you have no choice than to abide by that role, and the person you're evaluating is someone you think has been at the club for so many years and is such a seasoned Toastmaster, and I don't want to evaluate that person. No way I'm evaluating that person. And that's a common mistake. You already set yourself to fail because you're going to give not a great presentation at the end. And how do we prepare for an evaluation? Well, we have to read the objectives, or read the project, even if we can have access to that. And with Pathways, we can have access to at least the project objectives ahead of time, even before the speaker sends us his or her speech project. We can get the details of from the evaluation form and the evaluation module in Pathways. That's there already. Read the evaluation guide for the project. It's not only the project objectives, but if you can have access to the whole guide, go and have a look at it. Ask the speaker or also VP education. And talk with the speaker. And I have a question. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question in a while. Talk to the speaker. That's the best thing that you can do, because if you look at a lot of, I'm going to refer to Pathways, a lot of the speech projects in level 1, level 2, and level 3, the speech purpose come across as straightforward or simple. But if you want to add value and empower the speaker may have specific requests. For example, a few hours earlier, I was doing an evaluation at one of my clubs, and I asked my speaker, what do you want me to focus on? What do you want me to observe? And he asked me to focus on his use of descriptive words. So what does that mean? When I'm listening to him, I'm watching, I'm listening to his message, but I'm also paying attention. Is he using powerful words or descriptive? And I give him that feedback either during the oral evaluation. If I'm not able to fit that in, it's definitely going in my written evaluation. Now, we have a question. What's the difference between evaluating the speech and not the speaker? In the end, we will be evaluating the speaker, right? And fortunately, no. Because here's the thing. If you look at the trend that's going at the moment on the international platform, a lot of the speakers who are winning are non-native English speakers. What does that mean? I'm a Mauritian. English is not my first language. If I'm judged on my pronunciation of the English language, I'm already losing. Does that make sense? And Toastmasters International does not focus us evaluators and judges not to focus on that aspect, unless the pronunciation is so bad that you can't understand a single word. That's one aspect. when we evaluate the speaker, I'll give you two scenarios. I'm going to evaluate Sharif, someone I'm close friends with, someone I really like as a human being. And Sharif has a lot of, I'm going to say, mistakes in his delivery. And if I'm evaluating the speaker, that means I'm also evaluating the human being. And I'm biased. Oh, Sharif is my friend. I'm going to just look over that. But when I do that, I'm setting the wrong framework for people who've come to the same session to learn how to evaluate. Because if I skip on something that a new member said, okay, that is so obvious. Why did you not mention that? Why did you just say awesome speech when Sharif was just like pacing like a tiger in a cage? Why did Krishn not say that? Because Krishn loves Sharif and they would have been married to each other if they were already not married. The second scenario, I hate the person who's standing. I'll give you a situation. Hitler comes and delivers a speech in front of me. And apologies, Mathilde, I'm just taking that an example. So I don't like the person as a human being. So by default, I've got a negative mindset, and everything that's going to come out is going to come out with a negative aspect. Does that make sense, Roshan? All right.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. So remember, when we prepare for an evaluation, read the project objectives, then read the evaluation guide for the project and talk with the speaker. I've got a second question. What does it mean, evaluation guide? Well, the evaluation guide is the evaluation resource you get on Pathways, but also if you want to go ahead, the whole project document that your speaker can send you if you don't have access to that path. All right, I'm going to move on. Now, and this is the fun part. I'm going to ask a question and you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and just give me, I'm going to take on a maximum of 5 participants. How many criteria, if you can count from 1 to 10, how many criteria when you listen and observe and watch a speaker, how many criteria can you evaluate that person on? What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop my share. And instead, I'm just going to go around the screen. I'm going to get my victims. Rebecca, please unmute yourself if you understood the question. You're looking at the speech. How many criteria do you think from the top of your head can you evaluate that speech on? Please unmute yourself, madam.
Sorry, you mean how many criteria I have in mind now, or how many criteria I think I can?
You think you can?
I think for one speech, I would take 3 to 5 criteria, but not more.
All right, 3 to 5 criteria. Thank you.
Yeah.
Aditya, since you're a new member, how many criteria?
By the criteria, you said, can you evaluate a person? You mean the person himself or on the speech?
The speech itself. So, for example, vocal variety is, some people consider vocal variety as a criterion. Mm-hmm. So just like that, how many criteria would you have? Quick.
5. For example, a person with no eye contact to the audience. You mean these criteria, and the body language, the hand gestures, and how he stands up and faces the audience.
All right.
I think that's all I have in mind.
Thank you. I'm going to ask someone else. Pazani, if you can unmute yourself and just share how many criteria you think you can give on a speech.
I would say I will go probably just 3 to 4 criteria. Don't go more than that because at the end of the day I have limited amount of time, and I also have to give certain examples. So I'm not just mention, you didn't use that properly, but I have to give some example, and it takes time because I have to wrap up as well. So I won't go maximum 3 to 4. I mean 4, I would say really maximum.
That's a very good point. We're limited by time, but if you're not limited by time, how many criteria can you think of? Like when you're listening to the speaker, how many criteria can you think of? Quick answer.
I would say about vocal variety. I would say the
Please give me a figure.
position.
Please give me a figure.
Figure. I can say up to 6, 7 maximum.
All right, thank you. I'm going to take a last person, and it's going to be Toastmaster Divya. Please unmute yourself and share quickly how many criteria when you listen to speech you can think of.
Yeah. So firstly, how many in terms of criteria? It will be like 5.
Okay.
Body language, the voice, the research that they did, the content of the speech, and lastly, the use of the audience, I mean, the platform they are using in terms of presentation, etc. So that's 5.
All right. So some of you're going to be surprised, maybe happily surprised or a bit shocked when you listen to how many criteria you can actually have ahead of a speech, have prepared on a sheet of paper. Before I move on, 2 things. Sharif is asking me to apologize for your life, Krishn, to Mathil and Rebecca, because you should not have used Hitler. But Sharif, I already apologized, and I'm apologizing again, just like Donald Trump. And now, if there's anyone from the US, I'm going to apologize again. Second item, there's a question. Is it important to give examples from the speech? I'm not so good at that. 2 things. It comes with practice. And yes, it is. You're going to see how in a few slides along the workshop. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to look at how many criteria we can actually have. There's number 1, the message. And the message in itself can be broken down. The type of message, is it inspirational, informational, persuasive, entertaining? Then you have the verbal part of the message. That's again broken down. You think there's only 2. Wait for it. There's the words. So the words, they can be 1, descriptive. So I'm going to give an example. Today is a beautiful day. Here's a second example. Today the sun is shining majestically outside my window. Second one is more descriptive. Would you agree? A second type of use of words is making reference to the human senses. I'll give you an example. It has started to rain outside. Now, with the words that are referring to the human senses, as the rain started to fall, I can smell the earth rising from the ground and just pervading the atmosphere. A bit weird, but you get the point. So on the item of words, number 1, it can be descriptive. Number 2, it can be referring to the human senses. So that itself is broken down into at least 2 items. The vocal presence or vocal variety, where people go cuckoo. I'm going to break it down for you now. You have the pace, the power, the poses, the tone, and the pitch. Those are the 5 basic ones. So what does pace mean? So I'll give you an example. The different criteria to comment or recommend on. I'm speaking at a normal pace. I'm going to speak now at a slow pace because I want to put everyone to sleep. And I'm going to back up. And I'm speaking so fast that no one understands me. So that's the pace. The tone. Oh my God, how beautiful you are. And with the tone, I added a pitch. If you can hear the word beautiful, beautiful. So the pitch goes up as well. But let's focus on the tone. The tone is the easiest way to think about it is you have a train with wagons, and each wagon is a word where you're putting your emotions in. So if it's a sad emotion, oh wow, now with the virus, we have to stay at home. We cannot go to our on-site meetings. Now with fun and happiness. Oh wow, now with the virus, we can have so many online sessions and excitement. So you get the difference. Then you have the power. Yes, here's an example of a whisper. The power has gone down. And here's an example where everyone just goes deaf because the power is so high. And the pitch. The pitch can also get tricky because there's the low pitch, the voice that sounds radio-like. And then there's the mid pitch where you're speaking from the throat. And then there's the high pitch where it's like nasally, where the voice, the sound is vibrating in my mouth, in my nose. And if I'm going to try to play with it, I'll give it a try. So if you have practiced singing when you were younger, or you're still practicing singing the right way, you are at a big advantage in the Toastmasters world. So before I move on, I have a question. I have difficulty not using notes. Aha, so I'll come to that. I'll answer that question about notes at the end. Right, that was the verbal part. So till now, we have the message, the words broken down into at least 2 items, the vocal into 5 items. I think I've covered all of them. The poses. Yes, I forgot the poses. And just right now was a long pose. So it's how you work to put accent on some moments of your speech. And you have people who take long poses. For example, as we started, you saw me pose quite a number of times. I was actually trying to get people in. So those were unwanted poses, but in a speech where you're trying to inspire, where you're trying to send a call to action. And if you think about it, if you look at the good speakers at the end of their speech, where they're trying to get their message across, we're trying to do a call to action, they're telling you something, they tend to pose down, and they try to put emphasis on each and every word in their conclusion by using the pose. And the non-verbal part, how does that work? Well, the body. And thank you, Roshan. I also have my timer. We are heading to the 1 hour mark. Actually, no, we're 45 minutes into the session, but thank you. The non-verbal part of the message, there's the body. So I'm going to break it down in simple components. You have the head. That means number 1, the eyes. Number 2, the smile. Number 3, the emotions. So the face itself has 3 elements. Eyes, eye contact. And by the way, it's eye contact, not eye contacts. I've heard that as well. Number 2, the smile or the sad expression. It counts as emotions. You can have it. So forget the smile. So it's eyes and emotions. A happy message will have a smile. Sadness will have an inverted smile. Then you have the hands. Is the speaker using their hands or not at all? Or is the speaker virtually making a big cake by beating flour in the air? Then you have the feet. Is the speaker standing tall and firm, or the speaker is dancing on his feet or her feet? And word out to the ladies, if you're starting to practice your speeches standing, avoid using high heels because they make you unstable unless you come with practice. And when you're unstable, you don't come across as confident. The body language counts for a lot in your message. Then you also have the use of the speaking area. Are you moving with purpose from one point of the stage to the next, or are you just caging like a tiger who have no idea where you're going? And one more item, which is very easy to identify, has the speech connected with the audience? Has the speaker been able to craft those, not only a call to action at the end, but from the start by using a rhetorical question, by using a code, by catching the audience's attention and keeping that attention over the 5 to 7 minutes? That's the audience connect. So here's my question to you. How many criteria so far do you can analyze a speech on? It's definitely more than 10. Usually it's, if you think about it, it's between 14 and 16 criteria. And I think now you're going to be able to practice this criteria at the end of this workshop with the demo speech. So moving on, remember, when you prepare for your oral evaluation, like Bazani said earlier, we cannot cover everything that we have listed. We need to identify what works, what doesn't work. We need to identify, for example, out of the tone, the pose, the pace, and the pitch, which one is more obvious. And I'm going to focus on that one in my oral evaluation. I also want to be honest. I also do not want to disrespect the speaker or the audience. So I have to be careful. The case of me alluring to a bad person earlier from a specific country, not the right thing to do. We want to have positive, empowering expressions. We want to be specific. And we also want to get the habit to summarize. Why? 2 reasons. Reason number 2, if we are going for a contest, summary counts for 10 points out of 100 points. So you want to be getting those points. Reason number 1, when you're giving feedback to someone, and you can try it right now, you can try it with your spouse, your children, anyone, a close friend. When you give them a feedback on what they shared with you, try to summarize at the end with simple words and see the difference. The person will go, ah, you're right. And if you don't summarize, the person is like, what did you just say to me? Because we like to talk a lot, but we have little attentive power when it comes to listening to others. So Toastmasters helps us build on those skills as well. We want to summarize. A bit further. At commendations, there's the what and the why. So that means, especially for those, what do I say when I'm giving positive points about the speech? I'm commending. I need to say the what and I need to say the why. For example, Mathilde, you had an amazing prop when you delivered your speech. And now why was it amazing? Because that roll of toilet paper you use, it falls in the actuality where people are actually running out of toilet paper. And you have a toilet paper that has inscriptions on it. That is so powerful and so amazing. And that's a true fact because Mathilde did have that toilet paper roll in her speech. So the what and the why. At recommendation, we go further. The what, the why, and the how. What does that mean? Krishn, I think you need to stop walking on the stage. Why? Because it's distracting. I cannot follow your message. I cannot follow you as you're speaking. And how should I do it differently? Krishn, if you don't know how to use the speaking area, just stand still and use your hand gestures to pass on the body language part of things. Or Krishn, if you want to know how to use the speaking area, if your speech is in a chronological manner from past to present to future, move maybe from left to middle to right, for example. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the screen share. I'm going to, because we're now reaching the hour, I'm going to open the floor to any questions that you may have. And before you set your questions, I'm going to answer one question. I have difficulty not using notes. And most of our evaluation speech winners did not use notes, right? This question or this observation is more specific to a contest environment. So in a normal club session, you are not, I'm not going to say penalized, I'm going to say marked down. You're not marked down when you use notes. You're more than welcome to use notes. And even in a contest, if you look at the judging ballot, there's no place where there's mention of notes. So everyone can come and use notes. to deliver the evaluation. Having said that, communication is about humans communicating, speaking, listening to humans. So those people who are listening and judging you in a contest, they're also humans. I'll give you two scenarios. One person who comes with their notes like this. Ismail, you had an amazing speech. I enjoyed the speech, and it's so amazing that my life has changed. And another person who comes and is able to put the notes aside, even leave the lectern and say, Ismail, wow, you had an amazing speech that changed my life. Which one is visually more appealing? Second one, right? So whether we like it or not, the judges, when they have to decide between who they will give the higher mark to, it's going to go to the one who is not using notes. Having said that, if the first speaker has more recommendations which are specific, more commendations which are specific, and is able to summarize and get all the points, and the speaker without notes is all over the place, guess who's going to win? The one with the notes. So the thing that we can do here is start with the notes, then at some point, if you want to leave the notes, leave the notes. But to do that, you want to do another thing. You also want to get practice from your table topic sessions, because table topics allows us to practice without use of notes. And when you're on your own and practicing your evaluations for a contest, you also want to, okay, some people, they like to have a flow. I'm going to start like this. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use this transition. The typical one is, now, Roshan, if you want to take your speech from good to great, that's a typical one. And then you summarize. So you have that. And you're in a mess when the speaker who comes is just an amazing speaker or an awful speaker. That structure is just gone now. It's out of the window and you have to make do. So you want to be careful how you go about it. But best thing is learn, do. I'm going to use this word very carefully. Fail at your evaluations. Fail until you start to win. All right. Now, anyone else has any questions? No questions. Oh, wow. It was either crystal clear or everyone's like, go to sleep. Amazing. I'm opting for the first one, the first option. All right. So I'm going to keep on. And we are nearly, I think we have like 15 more minutes. And I'm going to take this question. The difficulty is evaluate seasoned Toastmaster. Right. I'm going to say this is a myth. It's a bad habit. And I've lived that bad habit. I remember when I started doing my evaluations, there was this young man, some of you may remember him. He's from the on-site club I'm a member of. And his name is Siddharth. And I was asked to evaluate him. I'm new at the club. I have to evaluate that guy. And he's like one of the best speakers. My first reaction, no, I don't want to evaluate him. No, I don't want to. And when I do evaluate him, I do a whitewash. And the first person who comes to me at the end of the session and says, why did you do a whitewash? Was him. He wanted to have a recommendation and I couldn't find a recommendation. So that leads me to the next question. What happens when you hit the perfect speech and you have no recommendation? Well, the thing is, there's no perfect speech. I remember in an evaluation session, that evaluation educational item that I assisted earlier this week or last week, there was that question. So my answer is there's no perfect speech. Our ability to listen, observe, identify the criteria, and then identify what worked, what should be improved, what worked, what should be improved. It comes with practice. Here's the thing. If I take Aditya and put him in competition with someone like Mathilde, Aditya will never win because Mathilde has, like, I'm going to say, hours and hours of experience in evaluating people. If I take someone like, who else do I take? Someone like myself, and I put in competition with my mentor, who is a lady in evaluations, who's a lady from one of my online clubs. I'm never going, well, I have a slight chance to win against her because she's got like 10,000 hours of evaluation practice. I've got like only 3,000 to 4,000 hours of evaluation practice. So it doesn't compare. The thing is, you don't only want to practice, you want to have someone to come and evaluate that practice and help you improve. So what happens is you also want to record your evaluations. You want to record your performance, at least the audio part of things, and then go and look at that and you will go crazy. Here's my challenge to you. Next time you speak, next time you evaluate, for people from the online community, I think we get used to that, watching our videos. But people from on-site clubs, do that. You're going to go crazy. I remember when I started watching my videos, I had to go and ask my spouse, can you come here and watch it with me? Because I didn't have the courage to watch it by myself. But now I'm used to it. I still hate myself, but I'm used to it. So you want to do that. All right. The judge guide for the speech contest, we'll come to that in the last part of this session. Some tips on the transitions between good and so good. Stuff you want to recommend to the speaker. All right, here's my suggestion. Let's take that up in a brainstorming session we have when we brainstorm and break down our evaluator's delivery. Let's do that. Okay. Okay. Anything you'd like to see different over the next hour? Because on my clock, we just completed 1 hour. You have to bear with me for the next hour. I hope it's going to be 15 minutes. If you have any comments, anything you'd like to see differently, let me know. So without further ado, I'm going to move into my presentation, if I can find it. Here we are. All right. Now, there was one question, how do I transition? But related to that, how do I structure my evaluation? There's no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. At the moment, around the world, this is the winning structure. So that means when you start, once you introduce, and remember, I don't have that in the slide, but your introduction is within 20 to 30 seconds maximum. 20 to 30 seconds, you have the introduction. Then you move into your commendations. Now you see I have ++ for commendations. Those are the good points, what you liked, what you enjoyed, what you felt good about when you listen to the speaker. At least 3 of them, a minimum of 3 recommendations. A minimum of 3 commendations. Then for recommendations, I don't have minus, because if I have minus, if I think about recommendations as weaknesses, it's like already a negative in my head. And when it comes out, it's going to be with words like, however, but. So you don't want to use those words. It should be ++, it's double positive. And I want to have at least 2 of those with the what, the why, and the how. And when I transition, it's not the summary, it's the strongest plus, the strongest commendation. And that's why with habit, when you have your list of criteria of the speech and you're writing, oh, wow, this is the strongest suit, using triads or using dialogues or having humor, that is strongest suit. I'm going to use that to close. And you summarize. Summary, it depends. If you're under red, you want to be very brief. If you are on the amber or the yellow, then you can expand on the summary and really make the person feel good. Now, another recommendation is in terms of time, go very fast. And some people are very good at that. Azra is becoming good at that, is when you start within 1 minute, 30 seconds, or within 1 minute to 1 minute, 30 seconds, you're done. You're done with this part. You're done with this part within 1 minute, 1 minute, 30 seconds. By the 2 minute, 30 seconds mark, you're done with this part. Then you have time, you have 1 whole minute to just play with the strongest plus and the summary. It comes down to how much practice you have, who's helping you improve on your evaluations, listening to your recordings and improving on those. Again, here you are. 1 minute, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, and 30 seconds. Again, this is one possible structure. There's another one that is becoming popular. I've seen that in online clubs where you have a plus, then a plus plus, a plus, then a plus plus, a plus, then a plus plus. It's like a multi-layered sandwich. Then there's again another one where the evaluator starts with the recommendation and ends with the commendation. Why? Because psychologically, when someone starts speaking with us, we always remember the second part of what they say. So when we start with the improvements within the first part of the speech, I'm leaving the speaker with an amazing mindset. The speaker will remember the recommendations, will remember the improvements, but will really thank me for his wins, for her good things, for her commendations. And I have a question. Aha. Plus and plus plus together. How the summary part works then? Ah, that's the trick part. Okay. Okay. Remind me of that question at the end, because if I answer that right now, it may take me 5 minutes. Is that good? Right. The written evaluation. Now, at some point, we need to hand over the speaker a written evaluation back. And how do we do that? Well, just as we're planning for the oral evaluation, we want to read the speech project objectives. We want to understand the objectives. We want to seek clarification from the speaker. If that speaker is not able to give us the clarification, we seek it from the VP Education or any other club officer or any other Toastmaster who's done that speech project or has evaluated that speech. Ask and you shall receive. Then we fill in the evaluation form as early as possible. On-site clubs, you don't have that issue. Online clubs, I'll give you my own case. I still owe people evaluation forms. Mathilde, I think I still owe you one evaluation form for your level 5 of 1 POF, if I'm not mistaken. And this is my 4th apology for you to you in this session. Oh my God, I'm going to hit a whole time high here. So you want to fill in the evaluation form as early as possible and send it to the speaker as early as possible. Some evaluators, what they do, if it's in an online session, they have the evaluation form while they're planning the evaluation. They're also filling the form and they use the form to help them in their evaluation. And at the end, they send that form either through a Zoom chat or by WhatsApp or by email. And you also want to follow up with the speaker. How I do that is when I send the email or the message, here's the evaluation form. I am available. Let me know if you want to discuss about any item that I have marked you on or any item in your evaluation form. And a few times I do get the speaker coming back to me and say, why this rating, and let's talk about this. And it helps the speaker and it helps me as well. So it's one thing that evaluators should practice. And there's a question. The format for pathway is different compared to the manual one. Can you explain that, Azra? The format
Yes,
for pathway.
Krishn. I mean, for the written evaluation, the forms, they are different.
Yep.
So new members can have issue in filling one form, and then from the pathway is easier than the manual one.
I understand your point. Good news about that. In 3-month term, it's only going to be pathways. No problem there. And new members are getting into pathways. You still have members who are on the old program. For example, me, I'm still doing a couple of the traditional manuals. So what I will do is, if it's an online session, I'm going to put my document in a Word format, and I can send it to my evaluator. He or she can fill it and then send it back to me. Or I can ask the evaluator, I don't have time to do that. Can you just write the items on a piece of paper or a notepad or a Word document and send it back to me? It depends on your relationship between speaker and evaluator. All right. Now, during the speech, an evaluator should focus on the speaker and the speech. Online, you want, as an evaluator, to have your screen on so that your speaker knows you're there for him or her and you're looking at the speech. On site in a physical club, what's going to happen? You're seated there and you don't want to be speaking to the person to your left or to your right. You want to be listening to that speech. That's why in some clubs, they repeatedly ask, when a speech is ongoing, please don't move about, please put your phone on silent, because you also are affecting the evaluator's ability to focus. So your focus is the speaker and the speech. You want to listen to understand. You don't want to listen only to let it come through one ear and go out the other. Understand. If you're not clear on what the speaker said, reach out to the speaker. If it's online, through the chat. If it's on site, go and meet the speaker at the break between the speaking and the evaluation segment and ask, did you really say that? I forgot the title of the speech. What was it? So those kind of questions. You want to be the best supporter of the speaker. So you want to lead with the applause when your speaker is going on stage and is leaving the stage. And remember, you as an evaluator can be the speaker's best supporter or their worst nightmare. So you want to choose wisely. And I do have some questions here. And yes, the old program has been extended, but it's only by 1 month. So my suggestion is, if you don't have anything that's pending in for your DTM or for your level you're working on, switch to pathways. Right. Now, you also want to do a paradigm shift. I mentioned that earlier. This is the paradigm shift you want to do when you're evaluating. Commendations are the areas of strength, the plus. Recommendations are not the areas of weakness, but the areas of improvement, the plus plus. So you want to have that as well in mind before you get into your evaluation. Now, after the speech, follow up with the speaker, talk to the person, send them their form. If there's been any misunderstanding, and that can happen, especially with on-site clubs, the speaker may have received the message badly, or the general evaluator may have interpreted it otherwise, or someone from the audience, oh, that's not fair. It was such an amazing speech. Why you have so many recommendations? So you want to clear that with the speaker. And at the end of the day, you're going to be in the same club, and you want to make the speaker feel good, and you also want to feel good as well. So you want to clear that. And what you want to do is be self-aware so that you can build up on your own skill set. If as an evaluator, you have the same criteria you're using session in, session out over 3 to 6 months, then something is wrong. If you're happy with that, be there, but you want to build up. One way to build up your skill set, one surefire way to build up your skill set is to go for contests. Irrespective, go for prepared speech, table topics, evaluation, go for contests, because when you put yourself under pressure, you get stretched, and that stretch opens your eyes, adds new skills to your bank of skills, and you build on that. A couple of questions here. Let's look at them. Okay, they're talking about the old program. Amazing. Right. Remember I talked about that earlier. So here's the difference. Evaluation compared to judging. Evaluation is simply I appraise the speech. I measure the speaker's presentation against the purpose of the speech. I advise the speaker on how to improve. Now, as a judge, What I'm doing is I want to select the speaker who has given the best speech on the day. I am not evaluating, I'm not appraising, I'm not measuring presentation versus speech purpose. My decisions are confidential. I do not have to explain them to the contestants. And I'm not telling the contestants how they can improve. Having said that, I do something quite cheeky. If there's someone who's been a judge in a contest I'm participating, I'm not going to ask the judge, why did you not select me as one of the winners? I'm going to ask the judge, how do you think I can improve on that speech? Huh? Tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. How? What should I do differently? So the judge is going to shift to evaluator mode. And usually they're going to tell you, I can't remember what your speech was because I listened to 5 speeches, but off the top of my head, it should be this and that. So be very careful. That's the big difference between evaluation and judging. Now, using I have no idea, I missed out, but what you want to do is, this was about using the judging criteria, which is coming up next, the judging ballots. Now, why do you want, and it's missing from this slide title, apologies. Why should we use, in the case of evaluation, the contest judge ballot? This one, this piece of information, this form that I hope all of you have handy on your laptop or next to you. Why? Because it's going to set your baseline when you use it to assess, not to evaluate, to judge your own performance. And you're going to identify where to improve, because guess what? You're going to now have to mark yourself. It's not like, oh, I feel. It has to be as per a scale. It's going to be your own scale, your own baseline, and you're going to be able to identify how to improve. And how do you raise the bar from there? You practice using the contest evaluation criteria. That means the judging ballot. You practice using that. That means you're going to be in evaluator mode, but also you're going to be judging your own evaluation. If you want to improve, forget contest. If you really want to improve, same thing for a prepared speech. You practice your speech and then you assess your speech from a judging perspective. You practice your speech, you may evaluate it, but then you judge it as well. So I hope that's clear and you can play around with it. And this is the form that we're going to use in a few moments. So it's broken down. It's not the focus of this workshop, but I'm just going to go over it with you. So the judging ballot for evaluations from Toastmasters International is broken down into 4 elements. Analytical quality, which should be clear and focused, has 40 marks. Recommendations, positive, specific, helpful, 30 marks. Technique, sympathetic, sensitive, motivational, 15 marks. And summary, oh my God, I apologize. For the 6th time in this session, I think it's not 10 points, it's 15 points. When you summarize, concise, and encouraging, it's 15 points. And at no point does it say without notes or speak in front of the audience without any note. So there you are. Now, last but not least, how do I prepare as a speaker? These are recommendations, but I think they are recommendations that are worth applying. I want to inform the evaluator and vice president of my goals in my speech. At least my evaluator, my president should be aware already. I want to tell my evaluator any specific points I would like them to review. For example, not out of my speech purpose or objectives. If there's anything else I would like to improve on or I'm working on, I can tell that to my evaluator. For example, I can go to Sharif, who is my evaluator, and say, Sharif, I'd like you to pay attention to my body language and what I can improve on. And he's going to give me that feedback later on. I want to listen to the evaluator. And you can see that in some sessions, at times, very rarely, some speakers, they're just like switched off and they are the ones who are missing out. But the evaluator is actually taking time to analyze your speech and share their feedback with you. So you want to listen well. And if there's anything you don't understand, because you are also considering each comment and suggestion for improvement, and you're evaluating your own efforts as well. After the meeting, if there's anything you don't understand, you want to go and speak with the evaluator. That's what you want to do. And here's the best part. You're in a Toastmasters club. It's not only you and your evaluator. There's at least 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 other people there. Ask for feedback. Just talk during the break or at the end of the session, or just network. Hey, Mathilde, you heard my speech, right? What do you think I can do differently and improve on that? And she's going to tell me. And that's the beauty of Toastmasters. We are usually people who are there to serve. Remember the Toastmasters core values? And most Toastmasters, if not all, will give you one feedback or the other. And it's amazing. If you ask, you're going to get so many feedback. But here's the thing you have to be careful of. You can get a lot of feedback, but you have to choose, as someone who's improving, who is intentional, you have to choose which feedback you're going to apply, which feedback you're going to put aside for maybe a later time, and which feedback you're going to just ignore. Yes, you have to choose. And right, so we are at the end of the session. Before I move to the demo, I'm going to stop the share and ask, do you have any questions? Can't read the slides. I remember giving a feedback to a member and she reacted badly. Happens. So here's the thing. If a speaker or an evaluator does not ask you for feedback, don't give the feedback. Don't do that. Unless you're in a mentor-protege relation, then do that. Even when you're in a mentor-protege relation, you may think that it's only the protege who's winning, but that's a bad way to think of that. I know I'm sidetracking here, but if you're in a mentor and protege relation, and I'm happy to say I'm in one such relation at the moment, the mentor learns as much from the protege as well as much as the protege learns from the mentor. So both of them should be growing. And if you are too proud to do that as a mentor, don't be a mentor. Just don't be a mentor. It's not the right thing for you. If you want to know more about mentoring, send me a message and I can have a session with that on that later for you. But again, this is my take on mentoring. There are other people who believe otherwise. And this is the close to the sidetrack. Coming back to the main item. So if you get a negative comment or negative reaction from someone you gave a feedback to, that means you gave the feedback that he or her was not expecting or did not want to listen to. Here's the thing. Some people, and I'm one of those people, thank God, because over the years I've toned down. I am a hot-tempered person. I really am a hot-tempered person. I can flare up like that. And I'm able to control my emotions now. But some people, especially when they've given a speech and they have not received the recognition of the ribbon, you want to just let them cool down and let them come to you. Don't say, oh, you did not win because you did that. It won't work. You can get hit by the gavel on the head at some point. So you want to be careful there as well. And yes, never give feedback to a contest evaluator in the heat of the moment. Never do that. What you want to do is, wow, nice one. Well done, amazing performance. And then later on, maybe a week or a month afterwards, when the person asks you, oh, you messed up. Yes, I wanted to say, but I could not say because you would have gone into depression. And you do that with people you have those kind of bonds with, who you can say everything to. I can do that with Sharif. Roshan can do that with me. So that's good. So you have those kind of people around here. You want to build those relationships, because Toastmasters is also about the people you do the journey with. And evaluations is the toughest part, but also the best thing about Toastmasters, because it helps you become a better human being. All right, we have 40 minutes left. That's more than enough time to do the demo. Before I hit the demo, are there any questions, any comments, any observations?
Yes, I have one question,
Yes, sir.
question, if you allow me.
Please do.
There was one question earlier about evaluating seasoned speakers. I would like to add on that, where you mentioned that some evaluators, they have so many hours of evaluation behind them. In a club, say we have members from 0 to 5 years. I'm taking maximum to 5 years. Some within their journey have reached 4 years, some 3 years, some are just starting their journey. When is the ideal time for one person to be an evaluator within that journey? You see what I mean? That will help the Vice President Education or the TME to put those persons, to give them the right opportunity when they are ready to evaluate. Do you have some guidance on that?
I do. I can give you recommendations. But before I do that, I want to reply to the example I gave in terms of number of hours. There are two things there. Practice doesn't make you become perfect, but helps you become better and better and better, as long as you get someone else to look at what you're practicing. Number of hours do help, but is not a hard set requirement to be a good evaluator from the get-go. Because if you're on pathways, especially as a new member, you go to pathways, you know only pathways. Go to pathways, go to the evaluation module, look at the tutorials. It gives you the right foundation to be a good evaluator. And just start with that. That means that in a club session where you have only 10 to 15 members and you don't have enough role players, then a new member, if that person has followed those guidelines, can do a decent evaluation. Having said that, there are recommendations, if someone else can help me here. I know that under the Easy Speak platform, by default, it recommends a speaker to have attended X number of sessions or have done Y number of speeches before doing an evaluation. Some clubs have those criteria, but I don't think there's any hard and fast rule that tells you that if you start as a new member, you cannot evaluate if your VP Education or your TME or TMOD asks you to do so.
Krishn, can I add on this?
Sure.
On pathway, I think in level 1 itself, on any path, the member is required to do an evaluation as part of a project.
Exactly. Yeah, forgot that as well. And that's the beauty with pathways. And guess what? We have, I think we have another online pathways guide in Mathilde. She can confirm that. The thing about the level 1 is when you start doing your speeches again, especially with the project where you have to do a speech the first time, get the evaluation, go back and do it the second time. I found that really hard. I had to go back to basics. After such a long time, I took 3 weeks to do the second speech after the first speech, because I was actually looking and following and reading the instructions and putting them into practice. Because before that, I had developed a few bad habits, like wait for 1 week to do my speech. Yeah, for a couple of sessions, I waited for like 30 minutes to come up with the idea because, hey, I'm a seasoned Toastmaster, I can't pull it off. It doesn't work like that. Because the thing is, as a speaker, whether you're doing a prepared speech, or table topics, or an evaluation, forget table topics. Prepared speech, evaluation, you want to respect the time your audience has given you to speak to them. You want to respect that.
Krishn, I've got a question for you. In fact, one I just chatted in terms of some people stand behind the lectern to deliver evaluation in club session, whether that's fine. This is one question. And second one, if I'm giving an evaluation to a person, if I'm familiar with the topic, although the person hasn't mentioned certain things about it, so can I use my knowledge of this and then try to explain, I know this, because I've seen some evaluators doing it. I know this topic very well. I've been doing this. Is it kind of recommended, or we should focus on the person and not on what we know?
Sorry, can you repeat the second part of your question?
The second point is if say I'm on the financial services, so someone is talking on that topic, specific topic, and I happen to know that topic well. So can I use my knowledge of that topic when giving the evaluation, or I should rather focus on what the person has said?
Right. So first, first thing first, if your audience is an audience of financial experts, then by all means do that, because they're going to be like, wait, we're enjoying ourselves. If it's an audience where there's a mix, people are not familiar with financial terms, it comes to the following statement: deliver your message as if you're speaking to a 6-year-old child. Make it simple, but yet powerful and influential. So simple terms, for example, you're going to use a technical term, but you want to simplify it. Now, that is going to be done in the speech. If the speaker has missed out on those, for example, simplifying terms, you can do a mix of both worlds. You can show that you are an expert. You also are an expert in your field, but for the benefit of the audience who is completely gaga and go-go at what is happening in front of them, you want to simplify things as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks. And just a question on
The
the
lectern.
lectern.
The lectern. Evaluations, a speaker can stand at the lectern or leave the lectern. But I've seen at a lot of clubs where the speaker does a yo-yo, a ping pong, lectern, no lectern, lectern, or they put their nose on the lectern and they're like, blah, 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 blah. That's a big no-no. Either stay at the bloody lectern, apologize again for the second time, or leave the lectern. But don't yo-yo between the two of those.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Have one comment. What is missing at our club in the education is an evaluation for the evaluators. Aha. The G does not usually cover that. Guess what? That's a good point, a very good point. But in some clubs that follow, if I'm not mistaken, the US format, the general evaluator has only 3 minutes. British clubs, the general evaluator has 5 to 8 minutes, something like that. So the general evaluator can cover more. Depends how much time the general evaluator has. But nothing prevents your club from hosting similar workshops or have a breakdown, a deep dive of an evaluation that we're going to do in a few minutes. You're going to see that, and I hope you enjoy it. So you have one evaluation and you just have a special session, an evaluation breakdown, and if it works, you keep that in your educational program. If it doesn't, don't do it again. So there's one Toastmaster who's not giving up. She hasn't forgotten. The plus and the plus plus together in a multi-sandwich. How does the summary plot work? Well, here's the thing. Remember when I was talking about commendation, recommendation, commendation, recommendation, commendation? That's if you want to play around with it and see how it comes out. At the end, the summary has to be logical. So the summary is going to be the same as a normal sandwiched approached evaluation. The commendation, recommendation, and the hats off to you. You don't want to overcomplicate things, because for some people, when they listen to you, it can get convoluted with commendation, recommendation, commendation, recommendation, especially if the flow is all over the place. But you need to practice it, and you're going to get the right answer by yourself, because there's no right or wrong there. There's no right or wrong. As long as you're adding value, you're empowering, you're entertaining your audience, and you have a message, because end of the day, an evaluation is a speech. If you don't have any more questions, and Dushila, you have raised your hand. Please share your question, madam.
Yeah, thank you, Krishn. I'd like to clarify this question of whether the general evaluator should evaluate the evaluators. It's a bit confusing, because what I've heard, what I've understood is that normally the general evaluator cannot evaluate the evaluators, but just maybe if there's something very pertinent that the one specific evaluator has missed out, then the general evaluator can actually add on to that. Or if the evaluators have, any of the evaluators has gone to these extremes, that is whitewashing or being too negative, then also the general evaluator can step in and kind of bring a more balanced approach to the evaluation of specific speakers. So can you just clarify this for me?
That's something that some clubs miss out on the general evaluator role. So that's a good question. I'm going to reply it in no specific order. So if an evaluator has done a whitewash or a harsh evaluation, the general evaluator, if in that session, because some clubs have the format where the general evaluator takes over the evaluation segment. Other clubs, it's a Toastmaster who keeps on running the evaluation segment. So if the general evaluator takes on the evaluation segment, the general evaluator can, as the evaluator has completed his harsh or whitewash evaluation, can come and balance it. Say, oh, but you had so many positive points. I think what the evaluator forgot to say is that, or don't forget to be aware of your hand gestures because you were baking a cake, a virtual cake on the speaking stage. Now, coming to the question, what does the general evaluator evaluate? The GE evaluates all the roles that are not evaluated. The prepared speech is evaluated. In some clubs, they have table topics evaluators. If they don't, then the general evaluator is going to evaluate the table topics, all the different role players, the session, as well as the evaluators.
Just to add on with regard to what you've shared, I feel evaluation is, although we adhere to some kind of formal process of evaluating, at the end of the day, it's quite subjective. Out of all the criteria that people can set out, I mean, different evaluators would give different weights to those criteria. What might seem important for me to share with the speaker might not be taken as important. Another evaluator might pick up another set of criteria. So at the end of the day, it is a bit subjective. And then the general evaluator coming and commenting on how the evaluator has proceeded on the evaluation, I feel it's not quite the right thing to do. Okay, so if you can just comment on this.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm going to come back because I didn't understand the last sentence in your question, but I'm going to start. And I forgot the whole question. Okay. When
just to maybe summarize what I asked, I feel different evaluators, they have a personal appreciation of the speaker, right, and their personal appreciation would vary somehow.
Right. So let me answer that for you. If you're evaluating the speaker and you're not going to talk with anyone, you don't have the time to talk with anyone else during the session. I'm talking about a normal club session here. You're evaluating your speaker. After that, you just are taken up by filling the evaluation. You talk only with the speaker. You get a call, you go out, and you come back. The break is over. You're just back to your seat. What you should have done as the speaker is speaking is feel the pulse of the audience. That means look around, look at the people's faces. That would give you an indication of, for example, on humor or on body language or on the tone or the voice. If the speaker is speaking too loud and you look at the people seated close to the speaker, I'm talking about the on-site here, sitting close to the speaker, they're like, so you know, you can, okay, speaking too loud, I'm going to put that as a recommendation. If you look around and the speaker has humor or is able to hit the right emotions, and you see those emotions because you're feeling the emotions, and you look around, you see the same emotions coming across the faces of the people, of some of the people, then you know you've got the right commendations there. Having said that, it's always good to cross-check if you're not sure. Gut feeling, if you're not sure there, cross-check your commendations and recommendations with another person that you trust, that's going to give you the right feedback. But again, like you said, at the end of the day, we are human beings evaluating human beings. your focus, although you're doing a speech as an evaluator to the audience, your focus at the end should be the speaker. So afterwards, you go to the speaker, ask, what should I do? Did you accept the evaluation? What do you think was not right? And you discuss on that. And you should also do another thing, because you want to improve. Because as you improve, as time goes by, you're going to see this. Because Sharif is going to help me here. If I draw a statistical diagram of your performance, it's like at times you're sure, at times you're not sure, so it's all over the place. But as you get practice, that random performance, it starts to normalize. It goes to a line, and at some point, with enough practice and work, you're going to get things right. But you always want to have people that you can share your feedback with, and ask them, did you feel the same thing? Did you hear the same words? Did you see the same body gestures? And work like that. Again, there's no right or wrong. Again, each club, each VP education, each educational team have their own ways of doing things. So you can reach out, and I'm sorry about that, Roshan, I'm going to say it. You can reach out to your VP education and ask, can we have more sessions and evaluations, and see how we can work around. I hope that answers your questions. It's a tough question. I know what you mean. It's a tough question. Yes, we are in Toastmasters to learn. All right, I'm going to stop taking questions. What I'm going to do now, and this is going to be the fun part. Do you have your judging criteria handy or on your screen or on your mobile phone? If you have, bring it up at some point and keep it ready. I'm going to share the link of a YouTube video in the chat. Why? Because I'm going to start the video. I'm going to share it. Some of you may enjoy the video. Some of you may find that you have a delay, a lag between the video and the audio. Some of you may have the video not playing at all, coming through your end. It's on our internet connections. If that happens, just switch off your video, mute yourself, watch that video on YouTube using the link I'm going to post. When you're done, you're going to come back. Why? You're going to come back for 5 minutes of Q&A that you can also comment. During those 5 minutes, Toastmaster Azra Muslan is going to be sent to a breakout room where she's going to prepare for evaluations. She's going to come back, do her evaluations, and then everyone is going to just give her comment and feedback. This was good. This should be done differently. And let's see if you have learned anything from what I just shared in this workshop. Does that make sense? All right. So here's the link coming your way. I'm going to post it in the Zoom chat. And I'm going to start sharing my screen. Azra, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen and share my audio. Give me a few seconds. Here we are. And I repeat, if you're not able, that's okay. Thank you, Mathilde. Thank you for being here. I'll share the recording with you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen and hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you're not able to look at it, mute yourself, stop your video, watch it on YouTube, and when you're done, come back.
That area behind the back seat. Mr. Toastmaster, Phil. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen. Growing up in the 60s and 70s, my dad would drive the family around in one of these big old Ford station wagons. I was the youngest of 5 kids. My oldest brother would ride in front with my folks, my 3 other siblings in the back seat. And you know that flat area behind the back seat meant for groceries and other items? That's where I would ride, with the family dog. And well into my 30s, whenever I would go anywhere with more than 2 people, I would automatically take the back seat. It was part of my inner script and a harbinger for things to come. Also, when I was a child, I had a speech impediment. I was born with a malformed palate. Fortunately, externally, everything was fine. But internally, my mouth wasn't shaped correctly. Out of all 26 letters in the alphabet, there was only one letter I couldn't pronounce. But back then, I wasn't Sue. I was Susie. Anybody want to take a shot at what that one letter was? It was S, yes. So kids would run up to me and say, "What is your name?" And I would say, "Ooey." And the kids would burst out laughing and run off. Pretty soon, I learned to keep my mouth shut. But it was too late. The cat was out of the bag. I was a marked person. And hardly a day passed where I wasn't teased for something. One day, while I was playing on the playground, a group of about 8 kids encircled me. Viciously, they plunged their verbal daggers deep into my heart. "You speak like a retard." Speak like a retard? She is a retard. Look at those Dumbo ears. Like a fox surrounded by hungry hounds, I hurled myself at every gap. But that just caused the kids to draw closer, tightening their stranglehold. Finally, I just erupted into tears and collapsed, sobbing. The kids laughed heartily and walked away. I would come home from school, look in the mirror, and say, "I hate you! I hate you! Why couldn't you be anybody but you?" I was a 7-year-old girl, entertaining thoughts of suicide. But then an incident occurred when I was 12 that began changing that inner script, at least temporarily. I rode the bus to school. And at one particular stop, this beautiful girl would come on board. She had long blonde hair, blue eyes, a dazzling smile that lit up the whole bus. She had a curvaceous figure that she framed in the hippest of clothes. She would saunter down the bus aisle, and the boys would wave. I'd sit in my seat thinking, oh, to be so beautiful and so popular. To me, she was a real live princess. Then one day, she sat down next to a super unpopular boy whom a lot of the kids teased. When she turned to talk to him, my heart leaped out of my chest because I just knew she was going to share with him some words of encouragement, give him some love. She opened her mouth and she tore him apart from head to toe. But it was a transformative moment for me because it was like I was suddenly in the movies, and that scene faded, and the lights, the cameras were on me. And I saw myself sitting there, my pigtails and braces, plain blue dress, and I realized that I was more of a princess than she was because I could never, ever treat anybody so cruelly. I went on to high school and then college, and I felt happy, had friends. But that negative inner script was still there, dormant, waiting for an opportunity. Sure enough, I married a man who seemed great. But there had been red flags while we were dating. One time, while backpacking up in the Sierras, he turns and says, "You know, you're pretty decent for a woman." Words of advice? If your fiancé tells you that you're pretty decent for a woman or a man, don't marry them. Sure enough, shortly after we were married, hardly a day passed when he wouldn't call me fat, ugly, stupid. Hey, I was back on the playground. Familiar script. But then one day he hit me. Struck me so hard it knocked me down. It was the best thing he could have done. Unfamiliar script. And it woke me up. I packed up my things, put our baby in my car, and I drove away. I embarked on a personal growth journey for years. Books, tapes, seminars, counseling. And what I discovered were two simple ways to change our inner scripts. Number one, decide. Decide that you really want to change. I wanted to change. And number two, when that inner script goes negative, immediately change it to positive. You stupendous, fabulous, wonderful person. Today, I've changed my inner script. I ride in front seats. And I open my mouth and I speak. And people can't shut me up. Change your inner script. And you will change your life. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. So I'm going to stop the, stop the share. And we're back. So Azra, I'm going to send you to a breakout room. Is that okay? Okay. Right. If you have to leave, you can leave, because some of you are having other items to clear and challenges, and online people are having to join other meetings. But give me a few seconds. I'm going to have a breakout room. Manually create room and just sign. And Azra has left the building. Yes, would I mind? Yeah, sure. I will send it again. All right, our evaluator is out. So just give me a few seconds. I'm going to reach out to her. It seems she has a connectivity issue. So we're going to do things differently on the fly. What I'm going to ask you to do is the following. And before I do that, to have an idea, we have 9 minutes left for this session to end. If you want to leave, leave. Otherwise, it may go on for 10 more minutes. And she's back. Okay, she's back. Right. Toastmaster Azra, you are back.
Yes, Krishn, I'm here.
Right. So just to be mindful of time, we have 9 minutes and counting left for this session to end. If you want me to end at on the 2nd hour, let me know. If we can continue for 10 to 15 more minutes, let me know. All right. Are we good to continue for 10 to 15 more minutes? Yeah. Okay. If you have any issue, you can leave, and I'll share the recording with you afterwards. Okay. Right. So Azra, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to a breakout room. Right. And there you are. You should see the request below, and you can join the breakout room. Okay, right. While Azra is gone, Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Or let's talk about the video that you just watched. What do you think were the commendations, what are the good points, the positive points of the speaker? And unmute yourself and share. Or should I? I'm going to go around the room because that's going to be the most practical one. Nalina, would you like to unmute yourself and share a recommendation and at least one commendation? You can give as many as you want.
I'll start with the commendation. I thought her body language was very visual, very theatrical, and I liked that the body language and at the same time her vocal variety helped us to put ourselves in the narrative, in the situation. I could picture myself in the van or in the bus. And that's a really good point because I was focused on a speech. I did not feel, I didn't disconnect at any point. A recommendation. She did use the speaking area quite well. And she also used a lot of pauses. So I can't seem to think about a recommendation immediately right now. I can't think of one right now.
Krishn, we cannot hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. So thank you, Nalina. When you talk about vocal variety, which element or which elements of a voice were good?
I thought she had a clear, loud voice, and she also accelerated and decelerated her pace. For example, she said, "You stupendous, fabulous person." That was really, caught my ear, and it showed the energy and the enthusiasm and the motivation she was giving to herself. She also used great pauses in between her storytelling so that she gave the time to her audience to visualize the scene and to anticipate what's next. So I thought, vocally, she was very proficient. Pace, pitch, volume, even vocal power, even the pauses. I think she was excellent vocally.
All right. One point that I didn't have time to focus on because this is about for contest evaluations. When we share an evaluation, we want to go in depth, as specific as possible about the commendation and the recommendations, while at the same time keeping things simple. I'm going to refer to what you said. She accelerated and decelerated. That's a good use of descriptive words, but at the same time, it's long and can come across as she's trying to use complex words to share a simple message that could have been shared with only, instead of saying she accelerated and decelerated her pace, she was varying her pace. Because remember, it's not about making an impact. It's about making an impact plus having many commendations and recommendations. So you want to get that balance. But being specific also help. But thank you. I'm going to ask Rebecca. And you're going to be the second and last person I'm going to ask feedback to before I invite the test evaluator to come back. So what did you find as commendations? And what would you recommend the speaker to do differently?
Very difficult. Actually, also my first thought was body language and voice, which was already mentioned because it was very significant. And I would add that what I really liked was that she also changed her voice when she played different role. Like, for example, then suddenly she was one of the kids on the playground. And so she changed her voice, like speaking as a kid. And also her inner voice, she was making it clear, okay, this is not me speaking now, this is my inner voice. So that made me feel more, how do you say, attracted to her speech, or more, it made her speech more visible and more lively.
Thank you. What would you like her to have done differently? If she were having a conversation, like speaking only to you, what would you have loved to see differently?
At the moment, I cannot really think of something.
All right. Think about that while I disappear for a few seconds. I'm going to bring back our test evaluator. So just give me a few seconds. All right, our test evaluator is coming back. So Azra, are you ready? Yes, please unmute yourself. And just to put you under pressure, I'm going to use the evaluation contest format. Yes, I am cheeky. And you're going to see my background change for the time, all right? Just have a look at it as you go along. So please put your hands together for Toastmaster Azra, contestant number one, Toastmaster Azra.
My fellow Toastmasters and dear TM, what a beautiful speech depicting your life story and sharing the anecdotes with us. There are many things which stood out for me. I loved the structure of your speech, where you started from your childhood, your school days, your married life, and then the decision which you took after a big incident which happened to you. I loved the way you stood out and you smiled at the very beginning. You were very poised and calm. I felt you had great eye contact all throughout, and your hand gestures were seen very well, whether when you were showing your brothers, elder one and then other ones, showing externally your mouth, or when you said sobbing and you collapsed. These were done very well. And then you used dialogue in between. When you said that you speak like a retard, this was done brilliantly. Coming to your vocal variety, I loved the way you made usage of the following words. I hate you. This was done very well. Having said this, what I felt could have been done differently was the usage of the stage. I felt to time and times you were moving from one place to the other, and this was distracting to me. Had I been in your shoes, I would have started in one place and then moved to another place when sharing my story incident at childhood, coming up to school, and then my marriage, and then coming back again with the conclusion of the decisions you took. In all, what a powerful message you shared with us today. Decide what you want to change and change the negative to positive. This was done with so much of sincerity in your voice, and that message was clear to me. In summary, a good story of your life, where you shared it brilliantly with powerful body language, gestures, eye contact, and usage of dialogue. Just be careful of the usage of stage and do it differently next time. I'm sure it will be a better speech. For me, this was a powerful message, changing your inner script from negative to positive. This is your life, and there are incidents in life which make you have such decision. The choice to have a great life. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. 3 minutes, 3 seconds. Nicely done. Again, start of recommendations at 1 minute 31 seconds. Nicely done as well. So here starts the fun. I'm going to ask you to do one thing. If you still have your judging ballot handy, have a look at it and rate the test evaluator as per that ballot. I'm going to share my screen here just to share the ballot again. Right. So this is just a weird thing. It's going to be weird for people who've never done that, who've never done this exercise. But how can you break it? It's up to you. You can break it by just looking at the different items here. Fair, good, very good. And guess what? There's no fixed mark. There's a range, 0 to 16, 17 to 27, 28 to 39. You just put in the figure that you think is worth it. Recommendations, technique, summation, and so on. The trouble that we have is we have only one test evaluator. It's not going to give you an idea whether she's won or not, but it's going to give you the practice of identifying where her strength lies, where her improvements should be focused on. It also gives you the practice to use this form so that you yourself, when you do your own evaluation or your speech or your table topic speech, you can use similar judging ballots and work on your own performance. So take some moment and fill it in. Meanwhile, if anyone has any question, you're welcome to just raise them. Okay, there's one question. Can I make recommendations on whether the speech content and structure and delivery support the conclusion of the speech? Yes, you can, if you're able to craft it as a commendation or recommendation. Yes. Should I stay clear of making recommendations on the content? Here's my take on it. I've heard evaluators who, when they give their evaluations, tell the audience what the speaker said. So they go over the contents. That's a waste of time. That's a big no. What you should be doing instead is refer to bits and pieces of the contents. As example, here's one situation. You had dialogue and they were appropriate with the right emotions. For example, when you were representing your husband and you say that dialogue, la, 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 la. And here you can fit it not one, but more than one commendations. You had not only the right tone of voice, but the pace also made me feel that it was another person talking to me. So you got more than one criterion that you can fill in there when it comes to practice. So once you've filled, I think you've got enough time to fill in that ballot. Here's my question. How does it feel when you have to use a judging ballot? I'm not going to ask you for the score because it's going to be all over the place. What I ask you is, how does it feel like when you have, instead of using an evaluation form, you have to use a judging ballot to rate someone, how does it feel? Open microphone to anyone who would like to just come forward. Binesh.
I would say that using the ballot form, it's pretty simple because you have these four criterias like fair, good, very good, excellent. And I believe that I personally, when I give someone, when I judge someone, I don't put the fair and the excellent. Why? Because I don't use fair because fair is the lowest one. Because the person coming here to speak, I'm taking the example of Azra here. It's been very courageous for you to agree with Krishn to be our test evaluator. So first of all, thanks for that. And that's why I don't give fair. And excellent, because I don't give excellent because everyone has a small thing to improve on. No one is perfect. So that's why I prefer not to use excellent and fair. And I work on the very good and good. And I try to balance it as and when on these two lines. So using the ballots, these two helps a lot. And the markings in between is the range is very interesting as well. So that helps a lot. And when you have 5-10 contestants, then you can really see the pattern of what is about with different evaluators. That's for me. Over to you.
Thank you, Binesh. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, you just got feedback from someone who has practiced as a judge before. Am I right?
Yes, yes, I have been a judge in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I've been in just the national contests in Mauritius.
So you can hear the experience talking as well. If you want to have a session specifically on judging, because we did have those test sessions in a group where we used judging ballots. Even at the conference last time, there was a group of us who were just, as judges, were judging in front. Some of us were judging with our own ballots, and we just were practicing those. So if you want to have a session only on judging, you can let me know. So I'm going to ask anyone else who has never judged before, who's using that ballot for the first time. How's the experience? Please unmute yourself. Bearing in mind that this session, the focus is not on judging, but on evaluation. Still, let's hear about it. Anyone would like to share? Pazani.
I knew you would pick me up. Yeah,
no, you unmuted yourself, my friend. I didn't pick you up.
Yeah, it's because I feel I was the only one I could never use that, so I've never been judged. So yeah, I find it very, I think Dishad mentioned, very restrictive in the sense that I have on the spur of the moment, because you have to judge quite quickly and you have to put someone in that quadrant, I would say. It tends to be tricky, and at times you tend to recall, like, was it specific, was it positive or helpful, and then you have to. So for me, at least, it needs practice. Definitely needs practice, because I find it. I'm not used to it, so I find it quite tough on the spur of the moment just to allocate someone within that quadrant. So yeah, as you said, we will need practice on it.
Thank you. And in the comments, there's the comment restrictive from Dilshad. Yes, it is restrictive, which is a good thing if you have to judge 10 contestants or more than that, because you have to go very fast and focus. Again, if you want to have another session on judging, let me know. But I'm now going to move back to evaluation, and we're going to wrap up in the next 7 minutes. So open microphone. How do you think that our test evaluator did good in the items she recommended? Or were there other items she could have focused on? For example, there's the body language, there's the use of the speaking area, which has been her recommendation. There's the facial expressions, there's the eye contact, there's the use of words, there's the audience connection, there's even the message. So out of all this lot, do you think that she was right, or she could have done differently with the commendations? Anyone, you can unmute yourself and share. Let's hear from the silent people. Okay, guess what? I'm going to pick on people now. Divya, let's hear from you, if you're still there. Ah,
Yes, I'm here.
what do you think?
Okay. First of all, I think Azra was very, courageous to accept this, this role for this session. As for her evaluation, not to be biased, but I always love the way she evaluates somebody, even during our meeting face-to-face or online sessions. Now for her evaluation of today, as for the analytical quality, she was very good. I would assign her very good points. The way she picked up the in terms of what are the, how do we say, the different the way the speaker gave her her speech, and what are the recommendation was also very good, very specific recommendation. As for the technique, I would say sympathetic, good. My rating would be good. And as a summary, she was very concise and to the point. And I was very much agreeable, but there is one thing that I wanted to share in terms of the evaluation, is that for me, the speaker was too much powerful in terms of her vocal power and energy and usage of the platform she was using. So perhaps that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. So one thing that you've noticed, everyone, is when I ask the lady about what she thought on commendations, she didn't give me the answer I was looking for. She went even further. She's using the judging ballot to identify what works, what can be improved. And Divya, I've got one more question for you. Do you think that if you use the judging ballot if you decide to be intentional about your own evaluations and record yourself, and then use the judging ballot to improve on your own performance, would that help you?
Yeah, so far I would use it as an add-on to my evaluation, because I don't think the 4 criteria are the only main points that I would base myself on giving evaluation. Somehow I would make use of all the information that you've been giving during our session, which was very, very useful, because I myself have never been giving an evaluation so far. So probably I'll be using this session, the judging criteria to give my next evaluation. And thank you for that.
You're welcome. On a side note, I understand your VP Education is looking for evaluators for his next session. So if you're not signing up, your fellow club members are going to just sell you to your VP Education as an evaluator. So all the best
Okay.
there.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else would like to share on how the test evaluator if the test evaluator had the good recommendations, or she could have done differently or improved on those commendations? Remember, she had only 2 to 3 minutes to fit everything in. It's not easy, right? Okay. Let me ask the question another way. Besides the commendations that Azra gave, what other commendations did you write down? Did you have in mind, and you were expecting to hear from the test evaluator? Please unmute yourself and share. And I'm going to just pick on someone here. If no one's unmuting, please go ahead, Madam Dilshad.
The choice of the subject that Susie had, it was something that was bang on, in the sense that, childhood stories in some way or another, everybody gets connected to. So that's another 40, which we could have touched on.
Thank you. I'm going to pick on someone else. Toastmaster Somaya, if you're still there, if you haven't slept with my voice, please share.
No, I'm still here, Krishn, and thank you. In fact, what I would like to say is that the speaker was a very good speaker, and it was quite tough to find recommendations in this particular speech. And I believe that Azra did a wonderful job coming up with documentations and recommendations in such a short span of time. Having said that, I believe that this speaker, the fact that she had spots on vocal variety can demonstrate how there are different components within vocal variety. So that she had, as a general comment, she had good vocal variety, but at the same time, the pitch she used throughout this speech was on the high pitch. And in some instances required a lower pitch to touch at our emotions rather than being too energetic and out there. So this is a bit more technical than that would give the evaluator more points in her analytical quality.
Thank you. And what Toastmaster Sumaya just did, she went deep. She was specific in one element. And here's the challenge: when we go that specific, we need to make sure that we don't spend too much time on that element. So it comes with practice. Be specific. What, why, if it's a commendation, what, why, and how to do it differently if it's a recommendation. And make sure it's said in simple words, simple terms, yet powerful, and within a reasonable amount of time, because we have only 2 to 3 minutes. Now, I'm not going to go around the room. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to ask you, you're more than welcome to post in the chat what you found as additional commendations over what Toastmaster Azra mentioned, and what you were expecting as recommendations in the chat. So I'm going to give you a few seconds while you're posting. I won't share with you my own recommendations. I'll leave it as a surprise. But I have them noted down. Is there any question while you fill up the chat with what you thought were the added recommendations? And you were good. Let's watch the video again and brainstorm on your evaluation. Well, for that, Sharif, you're going to talk to my wife, and she's going to give me the permission because I need to look after the kids. But it's a good point. Actually, Sharif raised a very good point. You need, for these kind of speeches, to find what you can recommend on. You need to watch that speech 2 to 3 to 4 times. Because one thing I didn't tell you, for those who went on the YouTube channel and watched it there, you saw it. That's the winner of a district contest, if I'm not mistaken, or a club contest. I'm not sure, but that's a winner. That means that's a very good speaker. And Sharif, yes, your club members would like to hear from you. Unmute yourself and give us your recommendations, not commendations, your recommendations. Sharif? He just dropped the microphone.
Okay.
Oh, he's there.
Yes, Krishn. Yes, Krishn. So my recommendation for Azra, or my recommendation for the whole session?
No, forget the whole session. That's we're going to be here till dark. Only
okay.
for
In fact,
Azra.
that message was, sorry, I sent it to everyone. That message was meant especially for Azra.
Okay.
And what I would like to do.
Before you move on, I forgot. Thank you, Doshila, for that. Your recommendation on the speech that we saw from YouTube, and what Azra could have improved on. So there
yes,
you go.
Yes. Why I sent this message is that I need to listen again to the speech, because I couldn't have the full speech. That's why I sent this message. It was meant for Azra, in fact.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because we're out of time. If you want to have one session where we have a video and you want to have a mock evaluation contest and then have a breakdown of the evaluations let me know, because we are all isolated. We can have it. I'm going to share with you what I found as recommendations. I didn't find many. I found the use of the speaking area. It was not intentional, but more than that, because we can use the speaking area when we look in one direction and the other to show emotions, to show good things versus bad things. And I don't think she was doing it the right way, because when she was talking about the friends shouting to her, she was looking in one direction, and then the husband telling her the bad thing, she was looking in another. So that was not aligned. She's having a nice flow with one message, and at one point she has two messages, because and that's where for me she could have done things differently. She has two simple ways to change something. I remember, number one, decide, and number two, to change the negative to the positive. So that makes things complicated for me. What's happening in my mind? It's one message, one message, one message, and then she breaks it. And I'm expecting, where is she going with that? And she goes back to one message. So here's the thing: when you do a prepared speech, it's based on reality, but it doesn't have to be 100% real. You can accustom it to your message. It could have been only one. It could have been, I decided to decide, and then move with that. So there's no break there. In terms of her dialogue as well. So the way she's dosing the dialogue, the first part with the friends is good. The second part is short. So maybe she decided to balance it out, but it's not a right balance. Maybe she could have used less dialogues with the friends at the start. And when she's closing, the thing is, she has a winning speech, and the element of a winning speech in terms of the emotions, it goes from the start, it goes down. It brings you down, 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 and then she goes back up. But she doesn't give me time to go back up, because she has, and she also has a lot of elements. She has the friends, she has the husband. Then she goes quickly over the kids and over being a single mom. For me personally, I prefer to listen to the kids, to the kid story, to being a single mom. That's more powerful than the kindergarten part, especially the audience is adult. But the way she's crafted it is very good. And when she closes, she doesn't have time. I think she's like running out of time, so she closes very short. Her conclusion is short. She could have like expanded and really drive her message across. Those are my recommendations. But again, it's a very good speech. So I'm going to stop here. With this speech, we can keep on evaluating, and that's what I wanted you to do, to get this habit of go. If you want to work on your evaluations, take your own speech, go on YouTube, take a speech, evaluate, and don't evaluate alone, because you will go crazy. Get someone, get a team, work with them, break that evaluation, have a Zoom session, have a Skype session, have a meeting at one of your friends' place, and just break it down and work. And you're going to find that when you evaluate, you're going to see the different criteria clearer, with clarity as time goes by, with practice. When you use the judging ballot alone, it helps, because although it's restrictive, okay, those are the marks. And on a side note, the judging criteria, the marks, you can break them down and really break them into sub-elements and really have a focused marking and use those markings for your evaluation if you want to think about that and do that. So that's what I wanted you to have in mind. Get the practice of recording your speech, watching, evaluating yourself. Judging ballot is optional. If you're going to contest, use that, but evaluate yourself, get yourself evaluated, get a mentor, and all the best with your evaluations. And that's the end of this session. We are completely out of time. I'd like to, I'm going to open the floor to additional questions, but before I do that, I would like to thank Plateau Toastmasters from Mauritius, and especially the club president, Coach Malu, who's not here with us, because Plateau Toastmasters is powering this event. Thank you so much. And that's all for me. I'm going to stop the recording here. And if you have more questions, you're free to stay on and ask me the questions. But thank you so much for your attendance. And if you want to have similar sessions later on, a judging session or just a deep dive in an evaluation, reach out to me or just set it up among your friends in your own club and have fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Krishn. Thanks a lot.